Okay, it's 2 minutes past 1, so hopefully everybody who is joining has already joined. We'll get started. So thank you everybody for joining this final webinar in the TOUGHBOOK G2 webinar series. Today we are talking about how you can drive more value from your fleet. So I'm Rachel Pugh. I'm one of the sales enablement specialists at Panasonic. And today I'm joined by Ross Williams, one of our design engineers from Cardiff. Hi,
Hi
Ross.
everyone. Hi everyone.
Great. So let me just stop sharing a minute. I have got a couple of slides that I will flash up here and there when I want to illustrate something that we're talking about. But, this webinar, we didn't want it to be, very PowerPoint focused. We wanted it to be more like a chat, an interview style. So yeah, I'm going to stop sharing this slide for the moment. And we've got just myself and Ross on screen now, hopefully. Bear with me a second. So, yes, thanks for joining us today, Ross, to talk about vehicle docking and specifically the docking solutions we have for the G2. So first of all, let's start with, generally, what are the benefits of vehicle docking?
Well, what we usually find is that the sort of in-vehicle environment, you usually get sort of lack of signal. So whether it be the sort of materials, the sort of metal structure of the vehicle, whether, you're going through low signal zones, what a dock provides is essentially optimized connectivity.
Mm-hmm.
So you get an all in vehicle environment. So you get the dual pass through provides like an external antenna. So you get your GPS and your LAN. So you sort of you don't get impeded by the lack of signal essentially that the vehicle sort of provides. So with the improved signal quality, you get like what we refer to as an extended office environment. So any sort of in vehicle sort of business applications, so that the user would use in an office environment can be used within a vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
In order to access that, we also provide like a range of Wi-Fi routers, so you can benefit from installing like an in-vehicle wireless hotspot as well, if you didn't want to use sort of external antenna route. But in addition to that, you also get the peace of mind that the device is safe and secure. So with a vehicle dock, so each dock is lockable,
Mm-hmm.
and so each one is RoHS compliant, is complies with EU safety regulations such as EN 62368.
Okay, yep. So the lock, obviously, that means that no devices, or hopefully the device can't be stolen from a vehicle if the vehicle's ever left unattended, because I'm sure
Yeah,
we have customers that they're not always with the device in the vehicle at all times.
definitely.
And when we're talking about vehicle docking as well, we don't just mean docking or mounting a device inside a road vehicle either, do we?
Oh no, no, definitely. So one of the more obvious vehicles we use, a forklift. So forklifts, we've got our own range of forklift specific mounting solutions. So whether what you wanted it to be pole mounted, whether it was roof mounted, there's a wide range of options there. But we've also got customers using them in areas like port logistics.
Hmm.
So they use them in cranes and container movers. People use them in aircrafts for e-tech logs and EFBs. We've
Yep.
also got them mounted in factory walls and factory floors, mounted in ECG machines, machine drawers, on the walls of ambulances, fire trucks, police vehicles, you name it.
Yeah, so actually yeah, you can mount your device anywhere. That's
Yeah.
interesting. And then also, let's bring it back now to the G2 in particular.
Yeah.
What docks do we have available for the G2?
At the moment, so luckily we had our thinking hats on. So the G2 is backwards compatible with both most of the G1 docks. Now, I say most because the G2 with slim corner guards and the gadgets and extended battery, etc., that's not compatible with sorry, is only compatible with the G1 Slim dock. So you've only got the standard version is compatible with the G1 Slim dock.
Okay,
Apart from that, if you're using it with if you've got the configuration with keyboards, yeah, that's backwards compatible with the CF20 docks. And when we say the docks, we're referring to both Havis and Gamba versions.
I see. Have you got any there that you can show us and talk us through
Yeah,
briefly?
definitely. So if we go through the G1 dock, so if you can see this.
A bit higher.
Sorry.
There we go. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is the Gamba version of the G1 dock. So this would be, as it stands, there's only one part that needs to be removed. So I figured I would keep it in the presentation because
Mm,
I feel that there's still some communication needed on this aspect. I've had a lot of questions about it previously.
yeah.
But for G2 compatibility, there's two screws that need to be removed here. And this section then removes, and then it's compatible with all tablet configurations, I should say,
Yeah.
of the G2 dock. So
And that's with hand straps and without.
yes,
Okay.
that would be hand strap, and extended battery, any sort of accessory configurations.
Hmm.
So as you can see on this version particularly doesn't have the dual antenna pass through, but we do have full port replication.
Okay.
Being full port replication being video is included. So the range of docks we now do light port replication and full port replication. Light port replication being lack of video and VGA. So this version then would be the G1 version of the Haverstock.
Okay.
So as you say, you've got two completely different designs. Again, this one is full port replication, but this version also has the antenna pass through.
Okay.
Both Harris and Gamba versions, they both come with options with antenna pass-through, light and full port replication. But there's also, for all the docks, there's passive vehicle cradles as well with no electronics. So
Okay.
it's
So
important
people
to keep
who
in mind.
don't want it, don't want their device to charge while it's in the vehicle, or
Yeah,
don't need connections to any other kind of peripherals, they
yeah.
can go for the non-electronic cradle. Is that right?
Yeah, because essentially you get some customers that they just sort of popping in and out of vehicles, and the device isn't always docked, so you don't really benefit, from having that sort of light or full port replication ability.
Okay. And then tell me about the mounting pattern on the rear.
All our docks come with VESA 75, but it can depend. It doesn't mean we can only use them with VESA 75. There are options available for adapter plates. So if the customer wanted to use VESA 100 or an amps fixing, then there's options for that available as well.
Okay. And then I don't know whether anyone might be asking or wondering this question, but is there going to be a specific G2 dock?
There is one planned, but there's no specified date for it yet. So since the G2 desk dock has been released, there is now a G2 specific PCB. So both our partners, Harris and Gamba, intend to develop G2 docks, but there's no timeline for it yet. So as it stands, we are relying on the backwards compatibility of the CF20 docks and the G1 docks.
And what's going to be the main difference with that G2 PCB? What are there going to be any different ports available on that dock because of that PCB?
USB-C will be the main one.
Right. Okay. I see. Okay, and then, in addition to the docs themselves, what else do we usually talk about when we're thinking about an in-vehicle solution?
Well, we've already covered some of them. So, you've got your antennas and your Wi-Fi routers. But on top of that, we also provide a range of fully rugged keyboards as well, whether it be so we got the Gamba Johnson version, which is wired. Unfortunately, there's no Bluetooth version of it, but it's fully wired and fully rugged, tested to in-vehicle standards. But we
Mhm.
also provide a range of sort of less rugged Bluetooth variants as well. But on top of that, say we also provide a range of vehicle holsters. So if if your customer doesn't want to use a vehicle dock, or they provide storage, extra additional storage within the vehicle, then there's a range of holsters available for that.
Okay. And what about, custom bracketry, for example, for
I,
non-standard installations?
I believe that leads us on to the next topic.
It does. It does lead us on nicely to the next topic. So, what are some of the additional services that Panasonic provides to customers looking to invest in an in-vehicle solution?
So consultancy is an option. So we do get some customers that already have their own vehicle installations, and in that instance, we can assess the installation, we can review it, and we can identify areas that require improvements. Or sometimes these installs are done and they're not done professionally, and um, there are standards and regulations that need to be met, and we can advise on that,
Hmm.
and we can support to make sure that the solution is designed in a way that complies with those standards and regulations.
Okay.
On top of that, so um, when we design a custom vehicle solution, so we use a 3D scanner. So it's a Faro scanner, and essentially what we do with that, it creates a 3D map of the vehicle cab, accurate up to about 1 millimeter. So what this helps us do is to consider the full extent of any sort of spatial intrusion within the vehicle. So when we're designing things, we need to consider when we're considering the position of the device, we need to consider things like where's the steering wheel, where is the hazard switch, where's the handbrake, the gear stick,
Hmm.
um, indicator toggles. We need to make sure that access to any of these these devices isn't impeded. So it helps us with that.
That's serious safety implications there, right? If the driver can't
Definitely.
access a gear stick or
Yeah.
yeah, whatever while they're driving because the device is blocking it, then that's a big no-no.
Yeah, definitely. But it is all sort of install dependent. So sometimes, we can have a really simple install. It might just be a case of, we'll have a off-the-shelf RAM bracket, and it'll just be fixed to a secure surface within the vehicle. Or, we might design a completely custom solution that's a bit more intrusive. And in this case, we would usually try and rely on mounting the device directly to the vehicle chassis so that we know it's not going to move.
Okay. And then what about like demo installations? Is that something Panasonic can support with?
Yeah, so once we've actually designed the installation, that would be the next port of call. So we would provide a trial install. Um, this would determine whether there's any adjustments that need to be made on our behalf, if there are any. But this also gives the customer an opportunity themselves to provide a sign off and sort of see and feel the install for themselves. And if there's any sort of modifications that they would request, this is really their opportunity to do it. But on top of that, each installation and that's under 3.5 tons. So if it's over 3.5 ton, it's not necessarily required, but under 3.5 ton, all our installs are evaluated by an independent test house called MIRA. So
Hmm.
MIRA is the Motor Industry Research Authority. But so independently, we will send them a report with essentially outlining how our installation works, which points we're mounting to, and then outlining the dimensions between, say, the dock, the minimum dimensions between like the dock and the steering wheel, or the dock and the hazard switch, and they would provide any sort of recommendations. So as an example, they might say that the passenger seat shouldn't be used.
Ah, okay. Okay. And so then all of that, once you've got that back from Myra, then it's sent to the customer, or we present it to the customer, and then
Yeah,
they sign off to see whether that's acceptable for them or not.
yeah, yeah.
And then when it comes to rollout, the rollout, the installation, what how involved are Panasonic in that part?
We provide full rollout support. So, we fully understand that, every customer's rollout is different. It's not the same month on month. If the customer required, say, 100 installs 1 month and sort of 10 the next month, we can cater for that, and we can provide the kits in that order. So there's full support involved.
And then the installation side of things, do Panasonic do all the actual installs themselves, or?
No, so our preferred installation partner is a company called Maple. So we work with them diligently, like really closely. But that doesn't mean that we won't sort of liaise with customer specific install partners. So we fully appreciate that some customers have their own install partners that they work really closely with.
Mhm.
And in that instance, we're happy to train up their engineers in order for them to provide our installations.
Okay, let's go back a little step now, back to the custom design
Yeah.
side of things. You mentioned that Panasonic will scan the vehicle and
Yeah.
we get the dimensions, we can design custom bracketries. Tell us a bit more about your in-house, capability there.
So in-house, we've got a fantastic team of engineers. So we have electronic engineers, we've got mechanical engineers, design, software engineering, you name it, we've got it covered. We design things, so we use a Panasonic AQ process. So this is a Panasonic specific AQ process that no other company uses. This is custom to us. And what this does is ensure the quality of the product that the solution that we're developing. So at each stage, there would be, we'd have our concept stage, it would be signed off, and then we would get prototypes made, we would test the prototypes. Any amendments that are required, we would then go back, adjust the solution, and then we would go move to the next stage until eventually we get to, a sort of a production level that we were happy with. But each solution, so we have two tests required, two test specifications. So we got our AQ test procedures, which are a lot more in depth. But then we've got vehicle specific test requirements as well, which would be our own TOUGHBOOK tested. So at the moment, I think we're on version 3.1,
Hmm.
but our TOUGHBOOK tested is based on mil standard 810H. So we're actually testing our solutions to military standards. So we're really confirming that our solutions are durable, and they're not going to go anywhere. They're not going to they get damaged. They're there to stay.
And what, in terms of the testing then for vehicle docks,
Yeah.
what are the most common tests that you carry out for vehicle docks?
So we've got internal and external testing. So the most common test that we need to run is an impact test. So in the EU, this is UNECE R17. So it is essentially a sled test, and the device is mounted in various sort of orientations, and then it's crashed into I say a wall, they're aluminium cylinders to sort of get the right acceleration, but essentially the sled is crashed at 30 mile an hour to create I think it's about 40 G deceleration. And what we're looking for is that during that impact, the dock, or one, the dock doesn't come away from the mounting solution, and
Hmm.
two, that the device itself doesn't come out of the vehicle dock. So none of the solution becomes any sort of projectile, doesn't present any sort of danger to the driver or the passenger if there is one. But then, on top of that, there's so like I previously mentioned with our vehicle partners, Havas and Gamba. So they don't comply with UNEC R17. That's an EU standard. What they use is SAE J1455. So that would be the US equivalent.
Right.
But it's approved. It's the same test, but different number. But then, on top of that, there's a variation of testing. So we do in-house testing, being, thermal shock testing. So we would test it. So we would spend like 2 hours at 85 degrees and minus 40 degrees. But the transition between the temperatures would be 15 seconds. So you're really getting that thermal
Okay, so
impact.
yeah, the real shock then, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, we get that, we do 50 cycles of that. So that test, takes the best part of a month to run. So, if you leave your device in the vehicle on a hot day, you're not going to get any sort of damage to it. But we also do, like, a variation of vibration testing as well. So in total, each dock or solution goes through around 12 hours of vibration.
Wow.
So yeah, there's not going to be any damage. It's not going to move.
It's yeah. So once that device and dot combination are in the customer's
Yeah,
hands, it's gonna
it's
last.
safe. Yeah, our
Yeah,
products are built to last. The tough books. But
exactly.
on top of that, we can also comply with sort of we know depending on which sort of environment the devices are going into, we can test at different standards as well. So as an example, if we were installing something in an ambulance sector, we can comply with SEN testing. So I believe that's BSEN 1789. But
Okay.
again, like that's an ambulance specific test standard that we can adhere to if required.
Yeah, so we don't do those tests as standard, those industry
No,
specific ones, but on request we can work with customers
ex exactly. Yeah,
to put them through. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. I see. Um, okay, so we're almost at the end of what we have time for now. So let's just check the chat for any questions. Let's have a look. Yeah, no questions in the chat, so we must have covered
Mhm.
everything that everyone needs to know, which is
It's
great.
been really good answers.
Um, so yeah, thank you so much, Ross. Thanks for joining us
Okay,
today.
no problem.
And just to finish up, I've got one last slide to show everybody. So yeah, this webinar was the last in a series of 4 webinars that we were hosting for the TOUGHBOOK G2 launch. As you can see, yep, over the last month to 6 weeks we've been running these webinars. This one is the last one, but don't panic if you have missed all the others. We've recorded them all and we'll be hosting them all on a landing page very soon, so keep an eye on your inboxes. You should receive an email with a link to the landing page very soon. And yeah, I guess with nothing more to say, no more questions. Thanks again, Ross, for joining us to give us an insight into the vehicle docking side of things.
No
Really,
problem.
really interesting. And thank you, everybody, for joining us this afternoon. And I wish you all a good day and a good week. Thank you very much. Goodbye.